So I'm resuming the recording and it looks like the doorbell's stopping. So I'm going to turn off my video. But again, I'm going to remind you, please mute yourselves because I haven't muted you. Feel free to ask questions throughout this training. We're going to cover the basics of a 1L memo today. I'm going to give you some tips that a lot of 1Ls would like during law school. We're going to go over the research process, and we're going to cover some time-saving tips along the way as well. I'm going to allude to a few things here and there that have to do with cost saving. You don't need to worry about costs of Lexis this semester. It's something we deal with more in the spring when you get ready to start thinking about jobs. But I may mention from time to time that in the firms, this is a cost-saving feature. And usually, just so you know, when I mention cost-saving features, I'm not talking about the bill that Lexis sends to our law firms, our customers. I'm talking about the bills that our customers, our law firms, send to their clients. So just kind of keep in mind that our customers, they pay us a flat rate. So we're not usually talking cost effectiveness for them, but we're talking in terms of their clients, which is really important to them too. So I'll allude to a few things about that as we go. We have a really generic hypo today dealing with defamation. It's not really the point of the class. The class is focusing on the tips you need to walk through a research memo. So to get started, I want to quickly just show 1Ls and really 2Ls and 3Ls, because this is new this semester, a place where you can go to get some resources for your classes. So before we even begin with the research process, I'm going to scroll down the screen. Below the Explore box, you'll see where it says View Our Practice Centers. Now, I'm on a law school ID right now, and so you will see on your IDs the law school information popping right up for you. And there's all kinds of courses listed here, the core courses that students take while in school. I'll just open up Civ Pro really quickly so you can take a look at it. Briefly, you can run quick searches in Civ Pro, but the really great thing is we have the Barbary outlines that are free for you sitting here. We have cases that you typically all read for Civ Pro. We have supplemental materials here to help you better understand some of these issues that pop up. So there's all these resources that have been set out just for you guys this semester. And so please take a look at them. It'll make studying for class when you're not understanding an issue a lot faster. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the main screen now, and I'm going to start off with just a case. So we're going to do a quick review. I'm going to pull open a case right now. And I know you know the components of a case, but I want to make sure we talk about them in terms of your research assignment. So you guys know these case briefs are sitting here. Lexis put those there for you. So when you see them, please take advantage of them. We tried to mirror kind of what Quimby does, but obviously these are free to use. So whenever you see these, they're just a bonus. So think of it like the bonus slot machines. You just get an extra bonus just for coming here. Okay, so let's walk through this case. I know you guys know that the case summary is where you're going to look to first when you're prepping for class. The overview kind of tells you those facts and a little bit of the legal issues going on, the procedural postures, the history. But below that, you guys will see the head notes. Now, I think you guys know that the head notes are where these rules of law are, or the main legal issues in this case. So we want to use these for research purposes. If I'm not finding head notes that summarize my issue well for my memo, then this may not be a case that I want to take a look at. And if I dig a little bit deeper, this particular case is about sufficient consideration for contract law. If I dig a little deeper, I can actually click the head note button. It's a little jump down, and I can take this down into the case and start reading where that head note lies in the actual case. Obviously, this is the part that I'll want to cite to in my memo because I can't cite to the head notes. But this is where you guys are going to see your legal reasoning. So I know that the legal reasoning, that's the most important part of the case, right? That's where the facts intersect with the law, the rules. So the head note itself is the rule of law or the legal issue, but it's how it intervenes with the facts of this case that help you better understand how that rule is applied, because that's what you're going to use when you're writing your memos. We need to understand the rules and how they're being applied through the facts of each case. So you know when you're analyzing your set of facts. Are they similar to these set of facts? And you're going to want to follow the law in this case, or do you want to try to make yourselves distinguished from these set of facts because this case is not helpful to you? So you want to kind of show that your facts are different. These are the same things you're going to apply when it comes time for doing your exams later, and they ask you how to apply the rules in this case. So that's the legal reasoning right in here, and all I have to do to get to it is find my legal rule that discusses it and jump on down. Now I'm going to make this a lot easier for you in just a moment. If you look over to the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see the About This Document box, and suddenly I'm not seeing it. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. So here's About This Document, and I'm going to come to the bottom of it, and you're going to see Activate Passages for your legal issue trail. If this is something that's unfamiliar to you, heads up and watch this because this is pretty cool. You want to know how the legal issue trail works. It's going to make your memos a lot easier. Okay, so I'm going to activate my passages now, and I do this every time I'm going to spend more than 5 minutes looking at a case. You'll see what it immediately does is box in these passages of text. This is where other cases are finding legal precedent in your case. So for 1Ls or all students, really, it helps you spot exactly where the legal precedent is. And I'll be honest with you, we didn't build this out to make it easier for first-year law students. We built this for attorneys because they need to quickly spot the passages of legal precedent. And now that's what they can do using these boxed in passages of text. So now they know this passage, it was an important passage. Other cases are citing to it. Well, if you're asking yourself, what cases, Zoe, what are those cases that cite to this head note or around this head note to this passage? All I have to do, and I know it's hard to see on the Zoom, is I click inside the box. And once I click inside the blocks, you're going to see exactly where Hammer v. Sidway got its legal precedent, so back in time, where it based its precedent, and all the new cases that are citing Hammer v. Sidway for that legal issue. And here's a bunch of new cases that are citing your case for that legal issue that you're looking at. So it's a good pat on the back that you found a helpful passage of text because there's new cases out here that cite to it. Now, I mentioned to you that I'm going to talk about cost-saving tips. In the firms, this is a big cost-saving tip because we have a bunch of cases here. We know cite the passage that we know that are citing that passage as legal precedent, and we can use those to further our research as well without having to run a new search to find them. So anytime I can find some new cases without running a new search, that's kind of a bonus in the firms. Okay, I'm going to hit my back browser, and we'll come back and you'll see the case. So all I did to find that was I actually, for some reason, I had to click out of Shepherd's and then About This Document, and it's at the bottom, the legal issue trail. All right, so let's quickly talk about blue booking real quick. I'm going to go up to the top of the screen. You've got this copy citation feature here, and I'm going to click it. When you click copy citation, you want to click standard for standard blue booking, unless your school is an all-wood school, and then you're going to use that. In the real world, you may actually use California for blue booking, but usually you want standard for standard blue booking. We want to make sure only our official reporter is checked, and when I come on down, there's my blue booked site, and I can throw it into my memo or use that right there. So I can just copy that. Now, what you guys also want to know is how do you do it when you're inside a case? So I showed you, how to turn on your legal issue trail. Now that you've found a passage of text you like, maybe we highlight that passage of text that you want to put in your memo. I let go of my mouse and click copy advanced. And I do the same thing again, standard for standard blue booking. I only want the official reporter, and I scroll on down, and there's my quote, as well as the pinpoint site, and I can put that quote right in my memo and use my pinpoint site. So please use these. The attorneys are using me. They're definitely going to help you get in the right ballpark for making good citations. So the way I did that was just highlight, let go of my mouse, and I go to copy advanced, and you guys will find that there. Okay, we're going to move on now beyond the case, and I'm going to show you the research process from an actual search. So I'm going to start with the search, defamation, libel, and false statements. You'll see here that I didn't put anything between my terms. I literally just put my terms in with no spaces in between. So Lexis is actually going to run a natural language search on this, which basically means it's running a search on relevancy, but it doesn't need to find each of these results in every result of my result set. So I don't need to have each of these terms in every result. It's just a relevancy search like Google and Yahoo. So if I want to tell Lexis, hey, I need each of these terms in my result set, then all I need to do is put the word and between my terms, and I'm already making better choices with my search, because now I'm telling Lexis, you need to have each of these in my result set. And I quoted false statements, so now that needs to be together, stuck like glue. And let's take this up just a notch. I'm going to say, you know, now I want, not only do they need to be these terms anywhere in the document, but now I'm saying, please put them in the same paragraph. So I want defamation and libel and false statements all in the same paragraph, that's /P. And I can do any combination of those. I'm just going to come back to the beginning and we'll just run this search like this to save time. And that way I have a good result set in front of me. Okay, so step one of your research process is to go to secondary materials. I know you guys know this because you've probably started your practice with inside your courses with legal research and writing. So secondary materials are here, but I'm going to give you a half step right now that could save you time in the future. Your half step before going to secondary is to check out these practice notes and articles. Those of you who are 2Ls and 3Ls, this is new to Lexis Plus. We have practice notes and articles and form clauses and checklists right here for you that we are able to bring you because this is Lexis Plus and it's a new platform. We're pulling these from our practice guides that we have. So I'm going to go out to practice notes. And you're going to see practice notes are written by the top attorneys in the country at the top 100 law firms. We found the best people in their field to make these guidelines for you. It's like going and knocking on their door and having them give you some advice on the topic that you searched. So I can actually scroll down here and see one of these attorneys put together a whole document for me all about false statements and defamation. So I'm going to come on in and take a quick look. I call this your half step because I still want you to go to secondary materials if you need to, but this may be all you need to do. And these are so much less cumbersome than secondary sources. They're easier to find. They're written by the best attorneys. They tend to tell you the elements that you're needing to prove, a really nice, concise element list. They tend to tell you the defenses that you'll want to think about if you're a practicing attorney, differences, all kinds of things that you guys need that might take you several secondary sources to find. So this is kind of like a nutshell version of what you need, but highly reliable. And often it's going to tell you some key cases and things, primary law, that you need as well. So you may not need to go beyond this if this is all you need, especially in the real world. But in law school, legal research and writing, they want us to go usually the traditional route as well. So we're going to do that. I'm going to hit my back browser and I'm just going to come on in now to those secondary materials. Now, here are the filters that I encourage you to apply, okay? You're going to apply the filter jurisdiction usually. I say that because, especially with my Hawaii students that might be on this call, I can click California right now, but then I'm limiting anything that comes from our non-jurisdictional database. And Hawaii students, you want to make sure that you take a look at these non-jurisdictional sources. So if you're in a state like Hawaii, or maybe a state that's just not producing enough resources for you, by checking non-jurisdictional, you're getting rid of all those other states in your result set, but you're making sure you get, you know, general treatises and secondary sources that talk about all the states. And if you want, you can actually just click them both and you have that as an option. So now I have California and non-jurisdictional, but to make it a little bit easier, I'm just going to click California for this course. Okay, I also want category treatises. Now, some of you in your courses probably talked about ALRs and AMJURs. Those are jurisprudence. I want you to think of them like encyclopedias to the law. If you guys have heard of Encyclopedia Britannica, it's kind of a little more general than a treatise. They're written by, Encyclopedia Britannica is written by Britannica, so they're written by their own editors and not necessarily the best people in the field, or I shouldn't say that, the top gurus that have been practicing for their field. So treatises are really the #1 place where attorneys and your legal research advisors tell you to go first. Okay, so we have treatises in California narrowed. My next filter that I pop open to help me out is my sources. Now I can immediately start to see the sources that are populating in my result set. And this is where you guys come in and you're like, wow, yeah, I've used Witkin before. This is really helpful. I'm going to narrow right to Witkin. Or you can say, what else you got, Lexis? And I can look down the list and say, oh yeah, mine's a California tort. That's defamation. So I'm going to limit right to that. That sounds like a really good source. And now I'm looking at my result set for my sources. So now I can come on in, and this is how I read the screen. I just read the top line and I'm like, okay, that sounds okay, but harassment seems a little funny, and this one's employment law, so I'm going to skip it. And then I go on and I read the next one. I say, okay, elements, perfect. Elements of defamation, this sounds good. Intentional torts, I'm in the right place. So you have two options here. I can go right into it, obviously, or we can start checking some of these boxes and throwing them into a folder and coming back to them later. So if you like a few of them, just throw them into a folder. The first time you set up a folder, we click choose a folder and then create new folder. You guys are gonna figure that out when the time comes. It just kind of sets you up to do that. So once you have your folders, then you can just throw things in. But I'm actually gonna come right into this. We're gonna look at this defamation secondary source right now. What are you trying to grab out of your secondary source? We need to find some really good primary law. I need to use the terms the court is using to discuss this. What types of terms of art is the court using? And most importantly, what are those elements that I need to prove? And it's not just enough to have the elements, but I need a really nice discussion of each of the elements as well. So when I start reading this, I'm looking for a really good discussion of my elements, or the different factors that I'm trying to prove. So it looks like I've got some discussion here about the malice factor. And for each of these, I know you guys know it's a footnote. I just bounced down and there's the case where that came from. But please know, here's my tip to you. Sorry about that, guys. My tip to you is don't start clicking into these cases now. You're gonna get lost in the weeds on Lexis. If you want, click into the case really quickly, maybe put it in a folder, and then back out and come back here, because you don't wanna get lost. If you start clicking to all these cases when you're on step 1, which is secondary sources, that's how you get lost into Lexis. Okay, I'm actually gonna come back. Before I move on, I always check my table of contents before I move on. I just want to make sure I've gotten everything I need here. It doesn't matter who I sit down with. I show this exact same thing to everybody. Partners of law firms, it doesn't matter. This is the same path I show them. I show them how to narrow using their jurisdiction to treatises, finding the sources that they know so well. And then I show them, don't forget, you can use your table of contents here to start moving around and finding more sections of this. Perhaps I need to know more about humor or satire, because my defamation claim was some sort of joke that was made. So I want to learn more about jokes. So that's how I can use my table of contents to move on. Okay, I'm actually going to hit my back browser again. I could just run the search again if I wanted, but I'm going to come on back and we're going to go to case law now. Typically, this is where I would go to statutes, but this is there is a statute on point that I could go to, but we're going to skip the statutes right now. We have our own statutory class. It's actually tomorrow. So if you want, it's only 15 minutes and it goes over statutes on how you can use those when you have a statute as part of your memo assignment. So if you guys have a statute in your memo assignment, come to tomorrow's training, but we're going to move right on to cases. I mentioned the statutes now because, like I said, that would be the next step. So it goes secondary materials, then statutes if you have them, and then finally case law. So now that I'm here in case law, these are filters that I like to apply. Obviously, I want to apply the court. So I'm going to come on in and say, I just want California cases right now. So there's my state courts, California. So that's step one, is narrowing to the right court. And then I've got other things here. I can make sure that all my cases are just reported, so I can get rid of unpublished decisions if you've heard about doing that. There's other filters here, but the one that I love the most is search within results. So here's why search within results is so important. Now I can actually come out and say, I need these exact terms to be in my result set, because I'm really generic right now. I've got defamation, libel, and false statements. We need to get beyond that. I need to see where my rules of law, or the elements I'm trying to prove, have a good discussion that I can analogize to. So I'm going to do something like this. There was a false statement made. I get that element that I'm trying to prove, or piece of the rule, and I want to put it in the same paragraph as my fact. And my fact is humor or joke or satire. Any one of those terms, I'm trying to find out when the court has some discussion about jokes as being part of the false statements. Why did I put them in the same paragraph? Because I want that really nice cross section of discussion, the false statement, and also it needs to have humor, joke, or satire. And if I'm nervous about it being in the same paragraph, I can just click and, but often same paragraph is a good way to go. Now for every single one of your elements, I need to come back here and re-edit this box and start over. So if I have another element of malice, then I need to take that fact about malice and put it in this box and try to find cases that discuss the malice issue that are similar to mine. But we're just going to leave it here right now. I'm going to click my magnifying glass. Okay, so now I have 194 cases. Here's where we can start to look at my Ravel view, okay? So Ravel views here, a lot of you have heard about it. It's fantastic for narrowing your result set and making sure you don't miss the stuff you need. So here's your Ravel view. These are the important cases it's going to outline. So I've got a lot of them here. This is a big issue in California. So I've got all these influential cases. These cases, these big bubbles, are telling me these are the cases where new cases are citing my case. They are influential because there are other cases out there citing the law of my case for the issues I typed in. That's really important to note. These cases aren't important for other reasons. They're important to me for my issues. And that's why RavelView works so well. So if I scroll down, you can check out where it says how to use. When I hover my mouse, you're going to start to see those case names. And here's where I can say, oh, wow, yeah, I want to make sure that I definitely hit these top cases, right? I don't want to skip some of these because they're really important and they're mentioning the joke and humor and satire. So I'm going to come on into this one. I just clicked it and now I can see this was number 18 on my site list. I may have missed it if I was just scrolling through, you know, the first 10 or so. So here's a quick way why RavelView is so helpful, because I can quickly see those headlining cases that I don't want to miss. Okay, I'm going to come into this case. I've already walked you through a case, so you know how to turn on the legal issue trail by just going to about this document. We can activate my legal issue trail. You know how to use the head notes. So now let's just talk about Shepard's really quickly and we'll wrap up. So if you guys are looking over here onto the right side, you'll see the Shepard's report kind of talking to you in this snapshot. And it's telling me whether or not this case is good law. Now I can see this case is good law because it only has the yellow triangle as cautionary analysis, and that's okay. We go with the traffic motif on Lexis. You want to be more wary of cases that are giving you a stop sign and the orange cue, but this triangle is super common. All it means is this: there are cases out there that are distinguishing themselves from the case I'm looking at, okay? And it's very common to distinguish yourselves. You guys are going to distinguish yourself from some cases as well in your memo, cases where the facts are different from your facts. So your cases, your situation's different, and you're telling the court, I know this is legal precedent, but I'm going to go a different way because those facts are different than mine. So that's what these cases did as well. But I do have 8 cases out there that are following the law in my case, and that's fantastic. It's really clear and easy on Lexis to see when cases are following the law in my case, which is bolstering my legal argument to follow it. Okay, now I mentioned those head notes, so I'm going to mention them one more time. This is where we can also narrow by a head note. So if I love this issue, freedom of speech, let's just say, and I see, wow, there's 19 cases out there that are citing my legal issue. In fact, one of them is following the law. I can narrow right to that head note and find out what are those cases that are citing my case. And we know this is one of the leading cases because Ravelview told us that I can now start to use some of these cases to further my research. And again, this is a cost-saving tip. Shepard's is always free to customers in the firms. So now I'm getting all these cases as well that I can further my research without having to run a search. And you guys can use them to further your research as well. How would I use this list? Well, I would come on into search within results, and here's where I'm going to type in humor or joke and make sure that my cases that are popping up have a lot to do with using humor in a defamation suits. Okay, before we wrap, I'm going to show you one bad case so you can see what it looks like. I love to pull this case open for students because it's very clear what a negative Shepard's report looks like and what you need to be careful of. We all know, because we're Americans, that Plessy v. Ferguson is bad law, right? So here's what it looks like. You've got all the colors of the rainbow from Lexis here talking to you, and I've got this warning. So if you see these, here's all you have to do in the future. I just click warning, and it's going to come up and tell me the Brown versus Board of Education case has overruled my case. And if you're like, well, why did they overrule it? I can either click out and read this, or I can go to page 494 and start reading and find out. And it's going to discuss the separate but equal issue. And I'll know that's why it's overruling my case. So if you want to know more, we just click out. So Shepard's is all about following your links. Link out to the bad law, link out to find out what they're talking about. This orange Q, that's not good either. I told you to be wary of these. That means there's other cases out there that are questioning the precedent of your case. Usually it's because there's a statute that's come out since your case that's now the law. But we need to be careful when you see questioned. And we just come on out, I do the same thing, and now I can find out the validities questioned by these cases, by the Planned Parenthood case. So we need to be cautious of that. And again, find out, well, what are they talking about? Okay, thanks guys for watching. I'm gonna stay on a few minutes to answer questions. I did go through this quickly, but you know that I recorded it so I can always send it to you. And thank you for coming.